I'm Frank Garza, and welcome to Here and Abroad, a podcast that follows the U.S. men's national team and their player pool across Europe, MLS, or wherever else they play their club football. On today's show, we're going to break down the USMNT's November window that just wrapped up. The team won both of their friendlies, beating Paraguay 2-1 and Uruguay 5-1. Yeah, that's right, folks. 5-1 result against Uruguay. Joining me again is Kyle Bond from the Sporting News. So, Kyle, November window is complete. What's your biggest takeaway for the window?
Well, before we get to that, I want to drop some numbers because I think there's some fun ones involved from the Uruguay game that I think we should touch on real quick. How about first time the U.S. has ever scored 5 goals against a CONMEBOL opponent? First time since 2012 that the U.S. has scored 5 goals against a non-CONCACAF opponent. And had they scored another one, it would have been the first time they had ever scored 6 goals against a non-CONCACAF opponent. So pretty crazy that they went right up against the edge of history there in that Uruguay game. Biggest takeaway has to be that for all the noise and the yelling and the posturing that fans, media, including myself, have done about the process that Mauricio Pochettino has gone through in order to get this team ready to play for the World Cup, he has earned the benefit of the doubt. It's been weird at times. It's been wonky. There have been slips. But I think he has earned the benefit of the doubt to take this team through the World Cup, and we leave our evaluation till then of his time, because the time for nitpicking, I think, with Mauricio Pochettino is over, and he's earned the benefit of the doubt from these 2 games that his process has shown value, and whatever issues we may have with players called in or treating friendlies like friendlies, but then they're not friendlies, but then they are friendlies, but then guys aren't here, but then some guys are here, whatever, that the process looks to have benefits, right? I'm not going to say it's working because we won't know that until after the World Cup. I'm not going to say it's not working. That's not what I'm trying to insinuate either. I'm just saying he's earned the benefit of the doubt for us to postpone our evaluation till after the World Cup and allow him the benefit of the doubt up until then.
Yeah, he got me on board last night, Kyle. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been I never met Poch, but still it's been an up and down relationship between me and him, at least in my mind. He's done some things I just didn't quite understand. I was frustrated. I thought he's never done this international thing before. He's trying to coach us like a club team. What he says in the press conferences doesn't match what he does in reality. I mean, there's been lots. I wanted to get on board many times, but then he does something or says something, and I'm like, oh, man. But last night was amazing. I think everybody, I was watching the game. I'm online on X, reading people. It was like a party. It was like a party watching this team. Everybody was excited. And the thing that is amazing, I think you put it well, but it's like his process. He's built a system. He's built a system where it doesn't really matter who's out on the field. I mean, to a certain extent, but it's like you look at the turnover that we've had between September, October, November from the roster. It's like half the roster is different in each of those camps. Doesn't matter. They go out and play consistent. He changes, last night against Uruguay, he rotated 9 players. Didn't matter. Team came out and played the same. So it's like plug and play at this point. Like he's built this system or atmosphere that no matter who he puts out there, they go out there, they look like they know what they're doing. They perform at the same level as the previous match, even if half the team, is different. And that to me is so impressive. Yes. It speaks to the process he's built, but also to the depth that he's built. I remember for a time with Berhalter, it felt like Berhalter had like 14, 15 guys he trusted, and then it was a drop-off after that. I mean, I feel like at this point, we're going to be going to the World Cup with a 26-man roster where you're going to trust. I'm not saying every one of those players is at the same level, but you're going to trust any of those 26 players to be out there.
He's going to have some real decisions to make. I mean,
my
guys
God.
who have played well under Poch are going to get left out at this stage.
The midfield, I mean, there's going to be some good central midfielders that get left off. Absolutely no doubt.
I think the biggest thing from last night for me was, you mentioned the depth, but to me, the absolute gulf in effort shown between the two teams was astronomical. I don't want to, I really try hard to put this in a way that doesn't take away from the U.S. So please take this with the understanding that I'm not trying to take away from what the U.S. did. The effort level from Uruguay was horrendous. They were so disinterested and so poor and so bad that I was blown away. For a Bielsa team, a Marcelo Bielsa team, to put forth that type of effort. I mean, now we've seen in the past when Bielsa coached at the club level, like Leeds had some of those games, right? So like that's not crazy, but I was just blown away at how bad they were, and on the flip side, how much the US players cared. Like they just went in for every loose ball, for every aerial duel. They every moment mattered to the US, and no moment mattered for Uruguay except De Arrascaeta, who was very good. He was very good in this game, and Uruguay was cooked the moment they had to take him off after the red card. He was the only player for me that looked like he had any desire in this game at all whatsoever. But every U.S. player was going in, and clearly Pochettino has built a culture there, which has been his main goal the whole time, where no matter who comes in, it's do or die for those guys. And it may look weird in press conferences, right? When he's going after Paul Tenorio for no reason after the game. I mean, poor Paul. It was such an innocent question, and Poch just blew it completely out of proportion. But like, you can see what he's doing, right? You could see the purpose behind what he's doing, and it's going to be abrasive to everybody else on the outside. It's like when a clear favorite in a game tries to play the underdog card, right? And everyone in the press and everyone in the fans can see right through it, but they don't care the public perception because of all they care about is the impact it has inside the locker room. You can see that that's what he's doing, and clearly it's working.
Yeah. Yeah, for those who didn't catch the press conference, get on YouTube, US Soccer's YouTube channel. It'll be there. It was actually Doug McIntyre from Fox Sports asked the first question. And I think his question was innocent enough, like, what do you take from this window? But then at the very end, he threw on, no, he was like, what do you take from this window, especially because you were missing so many regulars? And as soon as he said that, I kind of cringed because I knew what was coming, because I knew Posh was going to hate that. And so he got mad. And then
Tenorio took the flag.
I thought Tenorio was actually trying to compliment him a little bit,
Yeah,
but I think he misunderstood, and Paul kept trying to come back. He went to Spanish, to try and help him understand a little bit more. But by then, I think it was just too late. I mean, he was first three questions in a row. He was not a happy camper in that press conference. So it was definitely must see TV. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know. Get inside a player's like mind and heart and know like how much of an effort difference, was there. But the U.S. definitely played Uruguay off the field from the opening whistle. And I did wonder if Uruguay kind of showed up playing this like a friendly, and the U.S. showed up kind of playing this like their lives depended on it. And I think that speaks to Poch is constantly saying he wants every player to believe they have an opportunity to make the roster. And those players played that way. You know what I mean? A lot of people were on that field last night that are kind of on the bubble or maybe outside looking in, but they played like they belonged, and it was incredible.
The moment that Uruguay tried was after they conceded the fourth goal. They were like, "Oh, we need to like make this somewhat of a game." And right before halftime, they had like a spell of like 5 minutes where they really put the U.S. under pressure, and that's where they got the bicycle kick goal. And then it seemed like they went into halftime. They're like, "All right, we got a goal. We made it respectable. We're good." And then they let their foot back off the gas pedal. And then as soon as they got the red card, they were toast. But man, it just seemed like, and here's the thing. You won't have that advantage in the World Cup because everyone cares then. And all you're going to have is meeting the effort level of the opponent. But I think the U.S. has shown in this window that they can do that, right? They can match the effort and desire of the opponent in a high stakes environment. Now you've got to bring the quality.
Yeah. And I think, one last thing on that is I was thinking about the message this sends to the so-called regulars, the stars of this USMNT that weren't here, Pulisic, McKennie, Adams, Richards. I don't know if I want to put Richards in that group because he's actually proven himself, I think, to Poch and had a good relationship. But, it's those guys. It kind of sends a message of like, we don't need you as much as you think. Like we're just fine without you. And so then those guys, when they show up, they have to fight harder for their place because a lot of people think it's just all talk with Poch saying there's nobody has a guaranteed spot. There are no regulars. And I guess we'll see. But I'm starting to believe him. I'm starting to believe that he really thinks that nobody is untouchable and that if you don't bring it like those guys brought it last night, you have a chance of being left at home. Or you could certainly find yourself on the bench, even if you've been thought of as a kind of regular starter for this team, over the last, 4 or 5 years. The one other takeaway I want to say is that we have a 5-match unbeaten streak. And that's really all I care about at this point is
against good opponents.
All 5 of them, World Cup, qualified teams, great teams. And so we're building some positive winning momentum, which I think is so important. And if we can continue that in March we're probably going to have our biggest test yet. That's going to be incredible. Let's talk about some of the players, though. I was thinking about this, I'm like, the question is, who's a player that stood out to you, in a positive perspective? And like last night, it was everybody. But I mean, is there a player or two you want to talk about that particularly stood out to you?
Well, there's one player that we
need
to talk about, and that's Gio Reyna. What do you do with Gio Reyna? Okay, becomes the question. Let's say obviously a lot of it will depend on his club fortunes. But then the follow-up to that is, should it? Because Gio showed again in this window that when you give him time, he can make an impact. And I don't know what the hell goes on with him at the club level. I don't know if he doesn't try. I don't know if the coaches just won't give him a chance. I don't know what goes on there. What I do know is that I can't remember the last time that Gio put on the U.S. shirt and did not deliver. I struggle to say that he has to be on the World Cup roster because there's a big thing here that goes on. And this plays well into the idea that Poch really holds every player to the same standard. Is if I let one guy in who's not performing at the club level and lollygags on the training pitch and dogs it in practice and doesn't care until the match shows up, it completely destroys my ability to hold other players to that standard. So I get why Gio is probably an infuriating player for coaches. But has he shown enough to where Poch needs to change his standards or alter his overall, structure here? And I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why what you said exactly there. I was actually disappointed when Poch brought him into camp, because I thought, you've been preaching this one thing and then you make an exception. And I just feel like everyone's making an exception for Gio all the time. But then he comes in, first match, he has a goal. And I don't know if he got credit for the assist because there was like a deflection, but I mean, he had a big part in the second goal.
I don't think he got an assist.
Okay. Last night he had an assist to Tanner Tessman's goal. And so he looked good out there too. He looked good. He passed the eye test. He was productive in goal scoring, opportunities. And so I don't know. I still have a feeling he's going to have to prove it at the club level, for Poch to bring him in. And he's got 4 months now to do that. He's got 4 uninterrupted months to get settled in the Gladbach, try to win, hopefully a starting spot, and start getting some production and show that he can stay healthy. Maybe is the most important thing.
My worry is we've seen this movie before. We've had this exact discussion, right? Like, okay, now he's got time at his club level after a positive showing with the international team. What can he do with it? And it's gone the same way every time. So I need to see it before I can say, all right, things are on the up and up with Gio. But man, he looked good.
Yeah. As I was having this kind of internal conversation with myself, while watching the game last night. And when you think about the players, I call them the number 10s, or whatever you want to call them, those central attacking midfielder, playmakers, whatever. You have Pulisic, Tillman, and Luna that I feel pretty strongly are going to be in the roster. I mean, none of them are safe.
Pulisic's pretty safe. Let's.
Pulisic is, yes, okay. I think it might come down between Reyna and Aronson at the end of the day. And they're two totally different players.
I don't know if Poch, from that bunch immediately.
I hear you, but it's like I do think it's going to come down to maybe you could throw Luna in there as well. Maybe 2 of those 3 players.
I think you could throw Sebastian Berhalter in there too. That's
true. Although I still see him as more of a deeper lying midfielder, but you're right. He's competing against these guys that are outperforming him at club level, right? And you're going to have to leave some of these people home, if you bring them. There's going to be good players left home. There's going to be good central midfield. There's going to be good midfielders left home, no doubt about it. Let's talk about Sebastian Berhalter, because it was a cool moment last night. There was a free kick. Both Gio Reyna and Sebastian Berhalter were on the field together, and we know all the drama between their families, but they were actually over the ball discussing, who was going to take the kick
as a shield.
Yeah, and I thought it was a cool moment, and ultimately Berhalter took it, but Berhalter's another guy that really impressed me, because I watched him in the Gold Cup and I liked him and I was a fan of him. And I thought of him more, though, as like, this is just a good team guy, a good attitude guy. He's solid, but I don't know if he has the quality to be on the World Cup roster or to be considered that kind of upper tier. But last night, he really showed his quality. Not just on the set pieces. We know he's good at the set pieces, but throughout the entire match, all over the field, he didn't look out of place at all. And I was really impressed by him.
I am of the mindset that his set pieces are so good that all he has to do is be competent and not be a detractor on the field in open play. Mm-hmm. And you take him and play him for his set piece ability alone. After years of watching Christian Pulisic take corners horribly, I need every corner was on the money. Every free kick was dangerous. They played a routine for him where he just played the 1-2 with Dest and got him in a better shooting position. I mean, how do you take that off the field? And as long as he's not a net minus in open play, which to your point, he showed. You got to take him and you got to play him, because here's the thing with Sebastian Berhalter. If you take him and don't play him, what's the point? Right? Like, you've brought him for his set piece ability. That's not a thing that you like bring off the bench late in games or use as a backup option. Like, you bring him, you play him, because it's useless on the bench. There are other guys that you bring. There are going to be plenty of guys that you bring that are depth pieces, right? That either they're game changers off the bench, or they are purely there to back guys up in case they get hurt or you need to rotate or whatever. Set piece prowess is not that. It's a complete waste off the bench. If you bring him and put him on the bench, bring somebody else who's a better depth piece. I think you got to bring him and play him, because that in today's game is invaluable.
Yeah. At the very least, I'm thinking of a situation. It's a World Cup match. The team is down 1-0, 70 minutes. You're pushing for a goal. You know you're going to get set pieces because you're going to be in the opponent's third. Maybe in those last 20, 25 minutes of the match, you get 3 or 4 set piece opportunities. You're going to want to have a guy like that in there, making the most of those set pieces.
So. The question is, like, if you're going to play him, who the heck do you take out of the lineup, right? Because now you've got to figure out where to throw him in. And now it's like, all right, maybe you play him as the guy next to Adams. Maybe you play him as the deeper 10, but then who do you take out, right? Now you're taking out Tanner Tessman. Now you're taking out Weston McKennie, right? Like, there are questionable decisions there. So I don't know the answer to that, but you gotta take him.
He's in the mix. He's in the mix. Let me ask you about, you mentioned Dest there. So, Dest, I don't think, no goals. I don't know if did he get credit for the assist to Berhalter?
I want to say no, because I think it was on the assist to Berhalter. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
He had another one, I think, that he didn't get credit for because there was a deflection.
Okay,
but he had the assist to Berhalter, which is one of the simpler assists you'll ever have.
Yeah. But I really liked. So Dest played a lot more forward in this window, almost like he was a right winger. At times. I mean, he had like either Scally behind him in the first game or Freeman behind him in the second game. And I loved it. I loved seeing him in that role. What'd you think about him playing in that more forward role?
I agree. It's a weird one. So I was having a bit of a tactics discussion with somebody on Twitter who, looking back on it, I think was probably right in their discussion with me. Poch did something very interesting this window that I promise I'll bring this back to Serginho Dest, but I think it dovetails nicely. He has, since the Japan game, been playing this 3-4-3, right? With 3 true center backs. This window, in both games, he played a fullback at that third center back spot. It was Scally in the first game and Freeman in the second game, like you mentioned. And it looks really more like a 4-4-2, which is what they're playing. I want to say it's out of possession, or is it in possession? I can't remember. It's
out of possession.
Yeah, they play 4-4-2 out of possession and then a 3-4-3 in possession. Obviously, that's easier to say. It looks more fluid in reality, but it really worked. And what it did was it moved Dest basically into a true right midfielder, right winger role with a true fullback behind him. And boy, Freeman had a great game, first of all. But you just see a lot more of Dest as a winger. You also see guys shifting sides a lot. I think some of that was just from, circumstance, like, they were over there for a set piece or whatever. But guys are doing really well on both flanks. There's not a one-sidedness to this team at all. And Dest does look good. I think it a little bit takes away from the idea that I think Dest has improved defensively. And I don't think he's a massive liability at a true right back position. But also with Podge is going to hate this, but with the quote unquote the regulars back, there are guys who are better as true right wingers, right? Like you're going to have Tim Weah there, or somebody else. But it's certainly an interesting option, and I didn't hate it. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I think about Dest versus Weah because that's, if you assume Anthony Robinson's going to be back, that's ultimately the decision Poch is going to have to make, or he could play Dest and Weah because they can both play on the left, or the right. I just love his ability to take people on, dribble at people, make things happen, cause chaos. And I just picture him kind of doing that from the right side. And I picture Pulisic doing that, kind of cutting in from the left side. They're both so good at that, and I'm not taking away. I know Weah can as well, but I see Weah more as the speed, getting to the end line, delivering crosses. Dest just goes at you. You know what I mean? And so it's going to be interesting to see how Poch uses those.
I love
players.
Serginho Dest, and he's played very well. I'm taking Tim Weah 10 times out of 10 over that. He's never, ever, ever let it, like, aside from the punch in the Copa America, he's never let this team down. He has, there have been games where I've come away being like, wow, we stunk, and Weah was the only guy that looked good. Like, he just shows up every time and is dangerous and takes shots and makes things happen, and I don't think you could take him out.
Yeah, I love me some Tim Weah as well, but I do love me some Dest as well, and I just think this is one of those decisions, Poch is going to have to make, and it's going to be a tough call. But it was fun to see him play with a little more freedom, going forward. Okay, let's talk about players who maybe didn't help their cause. Was there any stock downs for you this window, or players that just didn't help their cause? I mean, I don't think there was a lot of them. But who's someone that comes to mind?
I'm not going to say I worry about this, but I still have questions at the goalkeeper position. We haven't had a game where Matt Freese just like stood on his head, right? We haven't had a game where, I don't know. I don't know. We went into the 2022 World Cup where we were like, Matt Turner's got this, right? Like, there were games where it was just like the Matt Turner game. We haven't really seen Freese. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm forgetting something, but I can't remember Matt Freese in a penalty shootout or what. And maybe NYCFC fans can correct me, and like, I don't watch him.
Well,
at the
there was
club
the
level.
penalty shootout in the Gold Cup that he did really well.
Okay, all right.
That's his one big moment against Costa Rica, I think.
That's right. But okay,
I'm with you. That's been it.
I'm not saying he's played poorly. Like, he's not. In fact, there have been many games where he has like one or two really good saves. But there's never been a game where we've needed to lean on Matt Freese. And I just wonder if he's got that in him. I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just saying we haven't really seen that yet. And I didn't have this concern going into the 2022 World Cup because, like, Turner you just knew he was there if you needed it. And I worry that if he's not that guy anymore, I think he's been slighted a little bit by Poch. I think Poch sort of just handed the keys to Matt Freese without giving Turner a chance to really prove that he's the guy. Like, I don't remember a moment that Matt Turner lost the goalkeeper job. I know that his club situation hasn't gone well, but I don't think there's ever been a moment where he had one or two mistakes, but there were a few mistakes that Freese made in the Gold Cup, early in the Gold Cup too, that he just got a pass for. He just kept starting. And I don't think Turner was held to the same standard. So I feel a little bad for Matt Turner. I think he got the spot stolen from him a little bit, but I don't think Freese hasn't earned the job. We don't know if he can be leaned on that heavily yet.
Yeah. Well, we talked about at the beginning, this depth piece, and I said that, we're going to go to the World Cup with 26 players that I felt pretty confident with. You've just highlighted my biggest concern.
Yeah.
It's goalkeeper. And obviously, Freeze has started all these games in a row. Poch trusts him. He seems to be the guy. But I find myself not convinced either. There's been several moments where he's like, there's those moments as a goalkeeper where you're trying to decide if you need to come out or kind of stay in. And he's gotten those wrong, on a couple of times. And I don't know if it's indecisiveness or it's just communication with whichever defender is right there. But that's made me a little bit nervous. And then also the fact that, he hasn't made an unbelievable save. I mean, a lot of the goals that the U.S. has given up, you're like, okay, he maybe couldn't have done really anything there. But some goalkeepers do.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
At that level, you're absolutely right. To your point, at that level, the goalkeeper position is just as much about not making mistakes as it is about adding value, right? Like there are moments where goalkeepers go, wow, how did you save that? Those are the moments where we haven't really seen from Freeze yet, where it's like, yeah, okay, we conceded a goal that's not his fault, but where are you adding value? I just worry that, maybe we don't see that yet from him.
Yeah. And you're kind of in a position now where you don't have really many matches to try something else. I mean, you can always go back to Turner, right? And so if he comes out next MLS season, he won't have a lot of time before the March window. But if he's playing well, the coaching staff already knows him. Maybe they give him a game. I don't know. If you're going to just stick another goalkeeper in there in March with only that window and then the June friendlies before the World Cup. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say you're stuck with them because it's not like that, but it's like you've kind of haven't given yourself much of an out, with them anymore. But I am nervous about that goalkeeping position.
So that would be the spot where you're like, where did you come away from, not as impressed? Again, I don't want to sound negative here because I don't have anything bad to say about the goalkeeping position. But it's the position, excuse me, it's a position where I have the least good to say right now.
Right. Okay. Last thing I want to ask you about is, we mentioned this already. It's going to be 4 months now until this team meets again in March. We're going to have 2 friendlies. Those haven't officially been announced, but it's looking very likely that Portugal is going to be one of the opponents. And I think it's a strong possibility Belgium is going to be the other one. We're still waiting on a formal announcement. But 2 European heavyweights right there. But 4 months until we get there. What are you going to be keeping your eye on the most closely over these next 4 months regarding this U.S. team?
It's a long wait. The number one thing I'm going to be keeping an eye on is fitness. I think the preparations are basically done, right? The games against Belgium and Portugal will be to size up how ready is this team and how ready is this team to take the next step. That's what all these fans want. Can we make a quarterfinal? Can we make a quarterfinal? These are the kind of teams you're going to have to beat to make a quarterfinal. And they're both beatable teams. They're both very good, but they're both beatable. And that's what those games will be about. Until then, it's going to be about staying fit. Guys are going to go through ups and downs. I care less about how guys are performing at their clubs from here on out, and I care more about health. We're now in the window where we're close enough to the World Cup where an ACL tear rules you out. Right? So we're close enough to the World Cup where there possibly guys could pick up injuries that could change the roster. A bad hamstring injury could put you in a problem situation. I'm a little worried about Anthony Robinson. Let's watch his knee issue. I think he's back in training, so I think we'll be okay, but going to keep an eye on it. We are in the window now where, to me, fitness matters more than performance. There are a few guys who need to perform, right? Like we just talked about Gio Reyna. But for the guys that we're pretty sure are going to be there, stay healthy.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the specific players, everybody, yes, stay healthy. A few players specifically I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Gio Reyna, like we mentioned. Can he get rolling with Gladbach? Ricardo Pepi still hasn't been able to earn his starting spot back with PSV. Can he get that back and start scoring goals for them? He's still scoring goals, but he hasn't been starting, for them. Can he get rolling? Yunus Musa, I think he's kind of getting pretty far out of the picture now, but can he get rolling? I think they have a new coach at Atalanta, so can he get rolling this winter? So I'm watching that closely. I am curious too about the winter transfer window. If anybody moves, I think it would be a really bad idea at this point personally, but there's guys like Freeman, Luna, etc. Some of these MLS players that are starting to get some attention in Europe. You never know when an opportunity.
Moving.
Yeah, you never know when an opportunity, the right club comes calling. It can be hard to say no. I'll be curious to see if anybody moves, in this winter transfer period.
I can't think of anybody else that would be smart to move. Like the guys I'm thinking of who need club time just moved.
Exactly.
So I don't like Gio isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Musa isn't going anywhere. Cardoso isn't going anywhere.
I guess there's. I think about somebody like an Aiden Morris, who didn't seem to be much in the picture, and then he moved to Middlesbrough, and all of a sudden he was in the picture. So is there somebody outside looking in who makes a move that puts them in a better? I can't think of any names right here. Yeah.
You only have March.
I don't know. I mean, I've been saying that for like 6 months with Poch, but yeah, I'm not saying anything's going to happen, but it's something to keep an eye on. Does anything happen in the winter transfer window, for any of these players? Does anybody move? Will be interesting. All right. Well, we're getting closer, Kyle. Geez, it feels like that March window, whoever he calls in,
I got one more thing for you.
Yeah. Let's go.
World Cup draw.
Oh yeah, it's coming up here in a couple weeks. You're right.
Who you want to avoid. So let me pull up the pots.
Did the rankings get updated today?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I will take a look at that too. But the pots are basically, I don't want to say set, but they're starting to get flushed out a little bit more.
Well, I know after this international window, FIFA was going to update the rankings, and those
Yes.
are going to be the final rankings, for the pots.
So let's see here. Just update. Yes, November 19th. Okay, here we go. So the U.S. moved up 2 spots. We're 14th. Not that it matters. Our ranking doesn't matter. But 14 past Mexico. Mexico dropped to 15. Italy down to 12th. That's actually
this
a
is
big deal.
This is who I want to ask you about, because teams 1 through 9 plus the U.S., Canada, and Mexico is going to be in pot 1. So that means teams 10 through 22 are pot 2. Who's ranked like 10th, 11th, and 12th? Because that's somebody that's a really good team that could end up in our draw.
Question before we get to that. Are the UEFA playoff qualifiers automatically pot 4?
I believe so.
That means Italy could be a pot 4 team.
Wow.
We want to avoid UEFA qualifiers at all costs from pot
Which we
4.
didn't 4 years ago.
Right.
We got the UEFA qualifier.
Now, Italy's not what they
Wales.
used to be, but good Lord, if
still,
that's
you
a
don't
pot
wanna play
4
Italy.
team. It's like, do you want to play Italy or do you want to play Cape Verde?
Who's the 10th ranked team?
So you've got 10th through 19 are Croatia, Morocco, Italy, Colombia, USA, Mexico, Uruguay, Switzerland, Japan, Senegal, and then Iran is 20.
Okay, so you could, if what we're saying is right, if Italy's a pot 4 team, the U.S. could end up with Croatia and Italy in their pot, which would be like a nightmare, right?
I'm looking at all of those teams, and I don't even know. I mean, Switzerland maybe is a decent draw, but like that's a boatload of really good teams in there. Maybe we want to get Iran again, but that you're looking at the bottom of that list. Senegal, Japan's dangerous, but beatable. Probably want to avoid Colombia. Do not want to play Morocco or Croatia.
Yeah, whoever's the pot 2 team is going to be a challenging team, but there's definitely countries you would rather have than others. So that's going to be interesting. Yeah, December 5th is this World Cup draw. All right, Kyle, let's call it a show. I will make sure and put links in the show notes to your X account, which is @the_bonfire, and also to your work at the Sporting News. Thanks so much for coming back on the show.
No worries. I love it, man. We got a long break, but we'll make it through. I promise.
Oh, we'll do it. And thanks everyone for listening to Here and Abroad. If you enjoyed the episode, please do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, or that follow button if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or somewhere else. Thank you so much. I'm Frank Garza. You can follow me on X @FrankGarza007, and I'll be back next week with a new episode.